Okay, let's unpack this a bit. What if interruption isn't just, someone talking over you at dinner?
Right.
What if it's something more fundamental, like a force shaping our thoughts, maybe global events, even the natural world itself?
That's exactly where this deep dive is heading today. We're looking at this really interesting AI-driven study called The Science of Human Interruption.
An AI-driven study. Okay.
Yeah, it's an interdisciplinary look defining interruption as this pervasive thing across individual lives, society, biology, physics, even philosophy.
Wow, okay. And here's where it gets really interesting for me. This study uses AI not just as a topic, but as a tool, right? Like a lens.
Precisely. An unparalleled lens, actually.
Yeah.
It's using AI to understand and model this complex phenomenon.
And potentially to, lessen the negative impacts.
That's the idea. But crucially, it also takes a hard look at the ethics. The responsibilities that come with AI influencing our behavior more and more.
Which is vital.
Absolutely. So our mission for you today is essentially to pull out the key insights from this pretty dense report. We'll explore, the nuances of what interruption is, the psychology behind it, the social patterns, how it hits our thinking.
Negative impacts, yeah.
The ethics, of course. And then ultimately talk about recommendations. How can we maybe encourage constructive interruption, foster healthier communication, build societies that are, more resilient in this super connected world?
Sounds like a plan. So let's start right at the beginning. When we say interruption, what are we actually talking about? Because the study makes a key distinction, doesn't it? It's not just any overlap.
That's a crucial starting point, yeah. The study is really careful here. It separates simple overlaps from true interruptions.
Okay, so what's an overlap then?
Well, it could be just a continuer, like someone saying, while you talk. That actually shows they're listening, right?
Right, engagement.
Or it might be what they call a terminal overlap, where someone starts talking just as the other person is naturally finishing up. Not really a problem.
Okay, so a true interruption is?
That's when someone actively stops the speaker from finishing, or maybe jumps in really aggressively to take over the conversation.
Got it. So it's intentional, or at least has that effect. That nuance seems critical for actually analyzing this properly.
It's the foundation, really.
Okay, so what makes us do that? Jump in intrusively, beyond just, misspeaking or excitement. It feels like it's often deeper than just being rude.
You're absolutely right. Sure, sometimes it is about wanting dominance, asserting control, making your point seem more important.
The classic power move.
Exactly. But often it's way more nuanced. It could actually come from insecurity.
Really? Insecurity? That seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? But think of it as maybe a bid for validation, like, hear me, acknowledge me.
Okay. I can see that. What else?
Well, there's lack of empathy, just not tuning into the other person's feelings or conversational needs. Impatience is a big one.
Just needing to get your thought out now.
Right. Or maybe a need for attention, feeling unheard. Even anxiety plays a role, like the fear of forgetting what you want to say if you wait.
The thought train anxiety.
Yeah. And then, of course, you do have personality traits like narcissism or just general aggressiveness that can drive it too.
Yeah.
A lack of active listening skills, wanting to control the conversation. It's a mix.
It really is like a little window into our psychology, isn't it?
It can be, yeah.
And speaking of how we interact, the study dives into sociological patterns, too. It talks about power interruptions versus rapport interruptions. Can you break those down?
Sure. So power interruptions are pretty much what they sound like. They involve conflict, competition.
The kind that feels bad.
Yeah, often perceived as rude, hostile. They're used, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, to display social power, like a boss cutting off an employee.
Okay. And rapport interruptions.
These are the cooperative kind. They're actually meant to show you're on the same page, conveying understanding, empathy, agreement.
So like jumping in to say exactly, or finishing someone's sentence helpfully.
Precisely. Or offering a word they're searching for, seeking clarification to show you're engaged. These can actually strengthen the conversation and the relationship.
That's a really important distinction. So the type and frequency of interruptions in a group could almost be like a diagnostic tool telling you about the group's health.
That's a great way to put it. A high number of those intrusive power interruptions. It often signals a less respectful environment, maybe more hierarchical, maybe more anxious overall.
Interesting.
So yeah, analyzing these patterns gives you valuable clues about groove cohesion, maybe even organizational health.
And the study mentions status plays a role too, like people higher up the ladder interrupt more.
It does find that, yes, Individuals seen as having higher social status, think senior judges, maybe physicians in some contexts, they do tend to interject more often.
But there's a cost, right?
There is. They might gain conversational control, but they often come across as less likable. It's a trade-off.
And what about gender? The whole man-interrupting idea comes up a lot. What does this research say? Is it that simple?
Well, the study suggests the findings are pretty mixed, actually. Context is everything.
Okay.
So, while some earlier research did point to men perhaps interrupting women more to assert dominance,
Right.
the study emphasizes that simultaneous speech, talking at the same time, can mean different things. Women might often use it to show support, like I'm with you.
Ah, so more rapport-driven.
Potentially. Whereas men might use it for support too, or to voice dissent. It's not always about power dynamics in a straightforward way.
That complexity makes sense, which leads us perfectly into cultural differences, which you mentioned. This seems huge. What's rude here might be totally fine elsewhere.
Oh, profoundly different. And this is where so many wires get crossed in intercultural communication.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Think about low-context cultures, like, say, Germany or the U.S. often are. Communication tends to be direct, explicit interruptions there, often seen as disrespectful, right?
Definitely. Wait your turn.
But then you look at high-context cultures. The study mentions India, Thailand as examples. They rely more on implicit cues, shared understanding.
Okay.
In those contexts, talking simultaneously might actually signal active engagement, enthusiasm. Yeah. It's seen as part of a lively conversation, not an insult.
Wow. So you can see how someone from one culture might totally misread the signals from another.
Exactly. And that's where the study quotes that idea of people inadvertently breaking the rules concerning their own cultures and try to eliminate those of others.
Just because they don't understand the other set of rules.
Precisely. It's not necessarily malice, just a lack of awareness of these deep-seated cultural norms. Understanding this is key to avoiding unintentional conflict.
It's fascinating how diverse communication is. But okay, the study argues this whole interruption thing isn't just a human social quirk, does it? It's suggesting it's like a fundamental force, even in nature. How does that work?
It's a really powerful extension of the idea. The study argues interruption is a universal mechanism of change. We even see echoes in biology.
How so?
Well, think back to ancient medicine. Health glosses was often about balance, right? Equilibrium. Disruption of the humors meant illness.
Okay, a historical link.
And today, much more concretely, scientists use mathematical models to analyze things like treatment interruptions.
Like stopping medication.
Exactly. In HIV therapy, for instance. They use complex equations, stochastic processes, to model what happens when treatment is interrupted to predict viral load or disease progression.
Wow.
Same for TB transmission models, explicitly include interruptions to understand how stable the system is, how the disease might spread.
So it's not just observing, oops, they stopped treatment. It's actually quantifying the impact of that interruption, predicting outcomes. That's a huge shift.
It is. It moves interruption from just, an event we notice to something measurable, predictable within a system.
And it's not just biology, right?
Yeah.
The study mentioned physics, too, something about a particle desert. That sounds like the opposite of interruption.
It does sound that way. But it's a great analogy. Imagine physicists think they've got all the fundamental particles figured out. It's a desert, nothing new expected.
Okay.
Then, bam, a discovery, a new interaction, a new particle. It interrupts that whole established picture.
Ah, so the interruption is the breakthrough.
Exactly. It forces a paradigm shift to drive science forward. So here, interruption is actually the engine of progress. And again, maths comes in modeling, lets them quantify effects, vary parameters, predict outcomes in these super complex systems.
Okay, so it's a catalyst. And this connects to philosophy, too. You mentioned Jean-Luc Nancy and Emmanuel Levinas. How do they fit in?
Right. So Nancy sees interruption as this critical intervention. It shows philosophy its own limits, pushes its boundaries. It leads to this cycle of and it's endless renewal, a necessary jolt to keep ideas evolving.
Preventing stagnation.
Exactly. And then Levinas goes even deeper ethically. He suggests that true ethical communication actually emerges from an interruption.
How? That seems paradoxical.
It does. But he argues that when someone or something interrupts our normal flow, our assumptions, it forces us to confront alterity.
Alterity, meaning?
Just the profound, irreducible otherness of another being. That moment when someone's presence truly breaks through your categories and demands your attention. Levinas says that encounter, that interruption, gives rise to a deep, almost pre-conscious responsibility towards the other. It's not just about the words, the said, but the ethical relationship itself, the saying, which is born in that interruption.
Wow. So across all these fields, biology, physics, philosophy, interruption isn't just noise or a mistake. It's fundamental. It drives change, challenges norms, spurs evolution.
That's the core argument. It alters states, it forces adaptation.
And it suggests maybe we could apply similar quantitative, predictive approaches to human social and cognitive interruptions too.
Yeah.
Move beyond just describing them.
That's the implication, yes. A true science of interruption.
Which brings us squarely to the impact on us, on humans, from like the micro level of our thoughts to big societal shifts. And individually, the cognitive toll sounds honestly pretty scary.
It's quite staggering when you look at the numbers. Even tiny interruptions, the study says, as little as 2 seconds.
2 seconds, that's nothing.
It feels like nothing. But it can cause a significant loss of focus. And get this, it can take anywhere from 8 to 25 minutes to fully get back on track mentally.
25 minutes from a 2-second interruption, that's wild.
It is. It generates what the study calls attention residue. Your mind is still kind of stuck on the interruption, and it massively increases cognitive load.
Making your brain work harder.
Way harder, which leads to being more tired, more stressed, and this is crucial. It can literally double error rates in tasks.
Double the errors. Wow, and it messes with communication flow too.
Absolutely. Causes disfluency, stumbling over words, losing your train of thought, understanding deteriorates, especially if the interruption changes the topic.
And emotionally. Constantly being interrupted must feel awful.
It does. Leads to feeling disrespected, like your opinions don't matter.
Yeah.
That obviously damages relationships, personal and professional. And interestingly, for the interrupter, if they're driven by anxiety, it doesn't necessarily help them either.
Yeah.
It can actually fuel feelings of isolation.
So this cognitive debt they talk about, it's not just feeling tired, is it? It's like a real accumulating deficit in our mental capacity.
That's exactly the concept. It's the cumulative effect. Over time, it can chip away at memory, focus, even long-term learning ability.
And the study suggests this could be a societal level risk, a population with widespread cognitive debt.
It raises that concern, yes. If lots of people are constantly operating with this deficit, society might become less capable of critical thinking, maybe more susceptible to manipulation, less able to tackle really complex problems together.
That's a sobering thought, and children are especially vulnerable.
Extremely vulnerable. Disruptions in their lives, think divorce, a parent losing a job. These aren't just emotional hits. They can literally alter developmental trajectories by depleting resources, both material and emotional. And it can impact parental mental health, which might lead to more erratic or less supportive parenting.
But the flip side holds too. Good communication helps.
Absolutely. Healthy family communication, love, support, really listening is foundational. It helps build cognitive skills, emotional regulation, social abilities, self-confidence, problem solving, all of it.
So the ripples spread outwards,
Yeah.
from our individual minds to our relationships and then into organizations and society. Constant interruptions signal disrespect.
Definitely. And in an organization, think about a leader who constantly interrupts or maybe holds back information. The study says this fosters a dysfunctional culture.
Meaning?
Lack of respect becomes the norm. Trust erodes. There's confusion, low morale, low loyalty. It really poisons the well, damaging both relationships and the bottom line.
And then at the macro level, there's social disruption. That sounds serious. What does that involve?
It is serious. It means a profound alteration, dysfunction, or even breakdown of social life. We're talking radical transformations.
What triggers something like that?
Big shocks, often. Natural disasters, mass displacements of people, really rapid economic or technological shifts, major demographic changes, deeply controversial policies.
And what does it look like? What are the symptoms?
You see widespread frustration, people feeling disconnected from democratic processes, society fragmenting into bubbles. Polarization becomes extreme. People only talking to those who agree with them, viewing outsiders with suspicion.
Leading potentially to
Escalation to conflict, even hate crimes in the worst cases.
Yep.
When trust and the flow of reliable information break down, that's fertile ground for fragmentation.
And leaders can exploit this. The study mentions infiltration and flooding of low credibility content.
Yes, that's a key tactic. Deliberately disrupting communication channels, eroding trust, spreading misinformation, especially amplified by technology today, can seriously undermine democratic processes and fuel that fragmentation.
But again, there's that nuance. Disruption isn't always bad, is it? The study brings up innovation again.
Right, that crucial distinction. While many interruptions are harmful, disruption in science and tech, think the industrial loom, the internet, that kind of interruption is a powerful engine for progress.
So breaking the old way of doing things,
Exactly. And research actually shows that studies with high disruption scores, meaning they really shake up existing knowledge, are often linked to peak innovation. So the key is figuring out, is this interruption destructive or is it constructively disruptive?
That distinction seems absolutely critical, which leads us nicely into the ethical side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Intrusive interruptions generally feel rude, hostile, disrespectful. Cooperative ones feel good, collaborative. Context, intent, culture, all key.
Absolutely. The ethical valence, as the study puts it, depends heavily on those factors.
But then there's that philosophical twist again from Levinas, that an interruption can actually be ethically necessary. How does that paradox work?
It's fascinating, isn't it? While, yes, many interruptions are moral transgressions, they violate norms of respect. Levinas suggests that a certain kind of interruption can be the very foundation of ethical relating.
The one that forces you to see the other.
Exactly. That interruption that breaks through your self-preoccupation and demands you recognize the unique presence and claim of another person, it awakens a deep sense of responsibility. So it's this paradox. The same kind of act, interrupting, can be a moral wrong or, in a different sense, a moral imperative that opens the door to genuine ethics.
That's a really deep thought. And when AI gets involved, the ethical landscape gets even trickier, doesn't it? What are the big risks there?
Two major ones stand out in study. First, algorithmic bias.
AI learning our existing biases.
Precisely. If AI is trained on historical data that reflects societal biases, gender, race, whatever, it can embed those biases, or worse, amplify them, leading to unfair treatment, discrimination baked right into the system.
Scary. And the second risk?
Mass manipulation. AI is getting incredibly good at understanding human psychology and crafting persuasive messages.
Tailored manipulation.
Potentially on a massive scale, exploiting our cognitive biases like automation bias.
What's automation bias?
It's our tendency to trust information generated by automated systems, like AI, sometimes more than information from humans. AI could exploit that trust to manipulate beliefs or behaviors quite effectively.
So what do? How do we mitigate these risks? We can't uninvent AI.
No, we can't. The responses need to be multi-level. Individually, it's about awareness, developing that cognitive immunity we touched on, setting boundaries.
Recognizing manipulation attempts.
Yes. And societally, the study points to bridging social capital.
Meaning?
Creating connections between diverse groups of people. Real, face-to-face conversations. Building trust across divides that makes society more resilient to fragmentation and manipulation.
And for AI itself.
Strict ethical guardrails are non-negotiable. Transparency in how AI works, accountability for its outcomes, and constant human oversight. AI is described as a super disruptive technology, so we need frameworks to ensure it helps manage interruption positively, not make things worse.
Which brings us to AI as a potential solution, or at least a powerful tool for understanding. The study talks about behavioral foundation models, BFMs. What are those?
Think of them as the next level of AI for understanding us. They're trained on vast amounts of data about actual human behavior decisions, habits, interactions, reactions.
Not just language, but actions.
Exactly. This allows them to predict, simulate, and even reason about why we do what we do much more accurately than older AI models. They can infer psychological traits, understand context. It's like a superpowered lens on human behavior.
And there are other AI tools, too, like simulators.
Yes, things like generative agents that replicate individual attitudes, or large-scale social simulators like one called Agent Society that can model millions of interactions.
What do you learn from simulating millions of interactions?
You can study incredibly complex dynamics. How does polarization spread? How do inflammatory messages catch fire online? How do different communication patterns affect group outcomes? AI lets us model these things at a scale we never could before.
So AI can get really granular, analyzing not just that an interruption happened, but the tone, the emotion, maybe even inferring the motive behind it.
That's the potential, yes. To dissect the microdynamics, identify the how tone, emotional valence, and potentially infer the why, linking it to psychological states or context. This gives us incredibly rich data.
And beyond analysis, can AI help improve communication?
The study suggests it can. AI tools can streamline assessing communication, gather precise data, offer objective analysis to spot gaps or enhance clarity. It could even act as a mediator in some contexts, maybe improving comprehension or facilitating multilingual conversations.
And the tech is getting better at understanding speech nuances.
Hugely better. Modern speech-language models are a massive leap. They understand tone, emotion, context, intent much better. They can handle real-time conversations, even overlapping speech, making interactions with AI much more natural.
Okay, so AI can analyze and maybe even assist. How does it model these interruption dynamics, from the small scale to the big societal shifts?
It borrows ideas from those biological and physical models we discussed. Treat interruption is a variable you can quantify.
Like the treatment interruption rate.
Exactly. Then, use AI's simulation power to model how these interruptions ripple through a system. How does a communication breakdown spread? How do collective behaviors emerge after a social disruption? AI can simulate these propagation dynamics.
Predicting how information flows or gets blocked.
Yes, or how societies might react to different kinds of shocks or interruptions.
And this ties into a systems thinking approach, seeing the interconnectedness.
Absolutely. AI is really good at mapping complex interdependencies and feedback loops within a system things humans might miss.
Revealing the underlying plumbing, so to speak.
That's a good way to put it. This
Yeah.
allows for simulating what-if scenarios.
Yeah.
What happens if we introduce this policy? What's the likely impact of this kind of social disruption? It becomes a tool for more proactive planning, risk management.
The study presents all this in a conceptual schematic.
Mhm.
Can you give us a sense of what that looks like? Why is that unified picture important?
It's basically a map trying to pull all these threads together. It shows how, for AI to really work on this, interruption needs to be formally defined like a perturbation from an expected flow.
Okay.
And the schematic visually lays out the layers. The causes of interruption, psychological, sociological, the different types, the immediate effects, cognitive, emotional, the cascading effects on relationships and groups, and the macro effects on society.
It connects the dots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It also shows the feedback loops, how effects can circle back and become causes. And it positions AI within this map, both as an analytical tool and as a factor with its own ethical dimensions. It highlights the need for AI to have contextual awareness, pattern recognition, causal inference, intent analysis, and those crucial ethical guardrails.
So it's a roadmap for future research, too, developing a comprehensive theory of interruption.
That's presented as a critical next step, yes, a unified theory to guide this interdisciplinary work.
So let's bring it back to the listener. The purpose of understanding all this, the science of human interruption. Why do you need it? What's the payoff?
Well, first, it gives you powerful insights into behavior, your own and others. Why do people break rules? Why do conflicts arise? Why do misunderstandings, like those cultural ones, happen where people seem to want to eliminate others' ways? Often it stems from these dynamics, misinterpretations, perceived threats.
So better self-awareness and social understanding. And you mentioned cognitive immunity against manipulation.
Yes, that's a huge potential benefit.
Yeah.
Understanding how interruptions work, how information can be manipulated, how cognitive biases like automation bias make us vulnerable. It equips you to better resist.
Especially with AI amplifying manipulation tactics.
Exactly. Knowledge is power here. It helps you critically evaluate information and make more autonomous, informed decisions, rather than being swayed by strategically deployed disruptions or low credibility content.
And on a larger scale, it's like a diagnostic tool for society.
In a way, yes. It helps us understand societal problems, like fragmentation, polarization, why some leadership styles are ineffective and harmful. It offers clues for building resilience, promoting critical thinking, maybe developing more adaptive ways to govern ourselves.
Okay, so it's empowering. But who actually benefits and who loses from all these interruption dynamics? It often sounds like a zero-sum game.
It often have that quality. In a conversation, the power interrupter might gain momentary control or status, but as we said, they often lose likability. There's a cost.
Right.
In innovation, the disruptors, those who introduce constructive interruptions, often benefit hugely. Those who resist the change might lose out, like craftsmen versus industrialization.
Okay, and with AI?
Well, the study warns that bad actors using AI to spread misinformation are clear potential winners in the short term. The general populace, potentially manipulated or fragmented, becomes the victim and loser.
That's stark.
It is. And societally, fragmentation harms almost everyone. Those who actively work to build connections, that bridging social capital, benefit the collective in the long run. The key takeaway is that interruptions, big or small, constantly redistribute power, status, resources, which suggests we need to think systemically about fairness and equity.
That leads to a final point. These human tendencies to break rules, to engage in cultural conflict, where do they fundamentally come from, according to this research?
It circles back to that mix of factors. Psychological drivers.
Hmm.
Dominance, insecurity, anxiety, narcissism, sometimes just plain awkwardness or ignorance. Sociological factors.
Mhm.
Displaying power, defying norms.
And cultural conflicts specifically.
Often rooted in a deep lack of empathy. Simple misunderstandings fueled by different communication rules, and defensive reactions when a group feels its identity or values are threatened. Polarization makes this much, much worse.
And AI's role here is
AI insights can reveal the hidden patterns, the strategic use of interruptions, the subconscious biases that make us susceptible to manipulation. It helps show that it's not always just about individual bad actors, but often about systemic issues and vulnerabilities in how we communicate and process information.
So wrapping this all up, what does it mean for you listening right now? We've really gone deep into interruption, haven't we? Finding it's way more than just bad manners.
Much more. It's this fundamental force shaping us from the inside out and shaping our world.
And what's truly compelling, I think, is that dual nature you highlighted.
Yeah, it's often damaging, clearly, but it also emerges as this essential mechanism for change, for adaptation, even paradoxically, for ethical growth across basically all domains of existence. This science of the science perspective reveals incredible interconnectedness.
And AI sits right in the middle of this, our guide through the complexity, but also ethically charged.
Immensely powerful as a tool for analysis, maybe even for positive change, but also holding this huge potential for manipulation, if not handled carefully.
Which leaves us with a really important question, doesn't it?
It really does. If interruption is this universal principle of change, and if AI can model its effects with increasing precision, how can you use this understanding?
In everyday life.
Yes, in your personal interactions, how you listen, how you speak, how you handle disagreements, but also as a critical observer of what's happening in society.
How can you use this knowledge to
Maybe foster more constructive dialogue, to build up your own cognitive immunity against manipulation, and ultimately to contribute, even in small ways, to a more resilient, balanced future, instead of just letting disruption pull things apart into conflict and fragmentation.
That is a truly provocative thought to leave everyone with, this deep dive into the science of human interruption. It really shows that understanding these seemingly small interactions can unlock some really big insights for living better. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
This is DigitView.